Good morning, Rogersville. Welcome again to the Morning Waffle. Lauren's still in Facebook jail. She can't figure out how to share our stream again today.
I'm still in jail.
Are you a recidivist?
I thought I had a 30-day stint, and I was all ready to have my guy come pick me up today.
Bring you a change of clothes.
Bring me a change of clothes, my personal items from the day that it went down.
Well, Beth, I'm sure would be right on time to pick you up from Facebook
Absolutely.
jail.
Beth is
Good morning, Beth.
Awesome. Hey, Beth.
I just realized we're all wearing black. We going to a funeral?
Yeah. Well, it's spring now, folks. So it's time to wear black.
I had that thought today.
We saw that more of a navy blue, I think.
Oh, you are looking on the screen.
It definitely 100% looks black.
Yeah, it's because we saw that there's a chance of snow tomorrow night.
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I took advantage of it while I could. I'm wearing shorts today.
Yeah, good call.
And just
I saw you wearing shorts.
The shot. I'm
wearing short sleeves showing off my pasty white arms.
Yeah. Well, the guns are out, so the sun's got guns out.
I mean, it's not going to be super warm. It's going to be probably a muggy, damp 60-something.
Yeah, we're going to hit 60s today, but
we'll take it.
That's better.
We'll take it.
30.
50 to 55 to 65 in October is cold.
Yes.
55 to 65 in March is warm.
It's just very warm.
And so it's all relative.
Isn't that funny? I think about that every year.
Yep.
It's like that in the winter you'll have a day that'll creep up to the 50s and you're like, oh, you're outside in shorts.
Absolutely.
Then, thanks, Beth. We feel cheery.
Yep.
Look, Major League Baseball got spring break.
They got their
spring training. Underway.
So what do we lose? 2 weeks of the season? Is that what happened?
I think that's correct. Yeah. Somewhere along there.
But there is no baseball anymore. You understand? It's been destroyed. We no longer have baseball.
I know it's a bit tainted.
That's why we're wearing black.
I can't help myself though. I still have to turn it on.
I get that, but aren't you just? You're going to miss it. You're going to miss that pitcher's duel.
Yeah.
You're going to miss that. I honestly, I'm not interested in seeing the old guy that should be retired but can still swing a bat, get up there and do only that and just try to hit a home run. That just does not interest me.
That's fair.
And pitchers ought to hit and.
Yeah,
I know.
And you should be able to
lay a bunt down and move the runner over.
That's right. That's your job.
Yep.
That's your job.
I don't need you to swing for the fences every time.
Nope.
I don't need a 10-9 game. I'm happy with a 1-0.
Yep.
Yes.
Pitcher's duel.
Yes. A lot of people have been talking lately about football, that they feel like football has really changed where they don't seem to show up until the end of the game. So it's is it the thing that we talked about? Is it them just not showing up till the end of the game, or is it something much more conspiracy?
Well, a little bit of both. I do think that refereeing decisions change at the end of a game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But again, most people think of me as just a soccer guy. I grew up playing football. I loved football. But I always say, I don't know that I would understand how to play the game anymore. The rules are so different. The things that I used to do as a defensive back or cornerback, you can't do anymore. It's all in the hands of the receiver.
Is that because of
unintended.
You? It's because of you that they made the rules?
Yeah, because they used to punch people off the line. I loved the bump and run. I was physical. I wasn't a big guy, but I loved to. Yeah, but you contact now is frowned upon. It's weird.
And it's football. It's weird. A game based, it's like boxing, but don't hit anybody.
Yeah, and people come at me with soccer being a sissy sport. I'm like, come at me. Yeah, I've seen more horrific injuries in that sport without pads.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it's
two guys trying to head the ball at the same time.
Yeah,
and they just hit each other.
Pretty nasty. But no, in football still, it's if you've ever taken a hit running through the one hole and a massive linebacker lays you out, it's nasty. But I hate the way that the game has changed and it's stacked towards the offense. And I don't know. I know we're not a sports show here today, but
it's just. But, I mean, it's very much relevant,
And talking about being geared towards the offense, that's exactly what they're doing to baseball.
It. That was our original point.
Yeah, that was our original point.
We're messing with everything.
It seems like everything's going through change, It's just...
And not all of it good.
Yeah, not all of it good. Yeah, the infamous quote last week was, be careful what you wish for on change because you never know what's actually going to show up. It's like, that's true.
Like a man competing in your women's sports and... winning it all?
My quick hot take on that is I think the only rational thing to do is to get rid of the gender divisions in sports, and you just have swimming, and you just have basketball, and you just have weightlifting, and it does all men and women or whatever you think you are, you just compete together. I mean that's the only fair thing to do.
Well,
if
you're trying to be fair.
if we're trying to be fair to people that have a mental illness,
that is the dream of
coddling.
hyperfeminism, right? And there are many streams of feminism, so let's not lump them all together.
Sure. Yeah.
But at that point, there are no distinctions. So we always need the pendulum. If it's going to swing, it needs to swing all the way, so we can go, wait a second, I don't like this anymore, and that's where we are, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got what you wanted. Do you like it? And now to see so many women, whether you're left, right, or somewhere in between, women standing up saying this is wrong.
Yeah, I saw a lot of women post.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I hate it that it came to this for them to awaken to this fact that. I mean, the pendulum just had to go all the way, I guess.
And I think that's great, and I appreciate that. The thing that I think is disappointing to me is that people that normally would support a very left-wing agenda get to this point and see on this one issue,
just on this one issue,
and
don't
then
connect the dots.
Don't connect the dots that it's everything else.
It's more to it than that.
It's that type of thought is harmful in
every. It's a self-centered approach, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
I don't like how this affects me. I don't mind all these other things that don't affect me.
That makes sense.
Well, and his behavior is very self-centered. Period.
Yeah.
Leah Thomas's behavior.
His name's William.
Well, Leah Thomas's behavior is very self-centered. And here's my perspective on it as a female. It's a little bit hard to swallow the fact that as a female, you can get your butt kicked by a man pretty much at any time. There's exceptions to the rule, right? There are women that can fully kick some butt, and I'm censoring my words right now. Mm-hmm. There are some women out there that can fully kick some butt, right, because they are stronger or faster than some men. But at the end of the day, you pretty well have to acknowledge as a female that if crap got crazy, you are a weaker size and strength. And
not to continually drag things back into my realm of thought, but that is, in my opinion, one of the strongest arguments against gun control. A gun is
a great equalizer.
Equalizer. That's correct.
Well, from a distance is a great equalizer.
Well,
but again, one of the reasons I don't always carry is because I know in a close situation, a man likely could take a gun away from me and use it on me if I didn't shoot him quick enough. Okay, so these are thoughts that women have because I'm a woman. These are the thoughts that I have. And I'm not like a prepper, apocalyptic type person, but my thought is if the world got really bad, dadgummit, me and my girls are in a really bad disadvantage.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And
so that kind of sucks, guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you don't feel that way. And I do, because it's like when you hear about Africa's a great example because they have these boundary lines and tribes that battle and change all of the time about who controls. And typically the battle is like every battle in history where the men come in and they, murder, rape, and pillage, and the women are left dead or pregnant or this is not a very nice conversation this morning. I'm sorry.
That's why we're wearing black today.
The point I'm making is there's some very serious feelings to me that this rises up in women, right? And it sucks. Yeah. And it's, swimming is just an example of it, and he dominated them because he's a giant man. I mean, the guy's like over 6 feet tall. And when I got really mad is when I saw him in his swimsuit.
Yeah.
The dude is a
dude.
He has not made any other, as far as I know, based off appearances, he's not made any other physical changes to his body other than grown his hair out, which men can have long hair too, so that's stupid. It doesn't count.
Well, they're claiming he's on HRT, hormone replacement therapy.
It's not working very well. So whoever's
and he lost some speed.
Yeah, well,
and that's why he switched.
And he was already middle of the pack in the men's group.
Yeah,
and so I think
that's my whole argument.
It is what it is, and I appreciate your honesty on that. I mean, a group of 14-year-old boys. Really good 14-year-old boys beat the women's national soccer team, which is the best women's soccer team in the world. And so there is a reality there. And at the same time, let me honor women and say, and there are many areas in which women would kick our tails in certain
100%,
things.
100%.
And so that's where, and my boys and I talk about this a lot because they get on, they get frustrated with the wokeism and this and that. And like, Dad, I can't say these things, but it's true. And I'm like, no, we need to say these things, but we need to say them the right way.
Yeah.
So we can honor women and say there are things that are you're better at it than we will ever be.
100%.
But
I
that's
totally
not
agree.
Equality is not. It's not about
Equality
you and
is
I.
not
It's not about
same.
same.
It's
Yeah.
Same,
not
that's right.
same.
That's why equity is such a dangerous word that you're hearing right now.
Absolutely.
Last comment, because the one thing this transgender men competing in women's sports is not new. You'll remember Fallon Fox.
I don't.
Fallon Fox is an ultimate fighter, a man that transitioned and got in a cage
Yes,
and
now
fought
I
a
know.
woman and cracked her skull.
Yeah, I was going to say, crushed her head.
Crushed her head.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about, this is very primal stuff, especially what I said a couple minutes ago. And I truly feel in my heart, balance is extremely important. There's a balance to nature. There's a balance to the way God created things, right? Men and women.
Can I quote scripture?
Yes, you can, please.
And he looked and he said, "It is not good that a man should be alone. I shall make a helper suitable." And you can be offended by those terms, but hear the flavor of it. Don't get caught up on the words
Yeah.
that they used thousands of years ago, right? In a
Yep.
language you don't speak,
Yep.
right? The idea is that balance, use your word,
Yep.
and I think that works in this case. It's fixing something that is off when it was
Off
just
kilter,
man.
yeah.
We need each other. This is not a difficult concept. Quit making something simple difficult.
Yeah.
And
well put.
and the other thought that I had on this, and because I don't want to sound too harsh against the guy on the whole thing, but the picture of him by himself on the podium and the three women together, mentally that is not good for Leah Thomas. That's my opinion. I think that if I was a person who'd made difficult decisions in my life and maybe struggled with some things, and I looked at that picture of myself in that situation, I would feel hurt, and I don't think it's mentally healthy for Leah Thomas either. That's where I am at on it, and
Not
that's
at
my
all.
opinion.
Well,
To be something that you're not is never going to be healthy.
that's- well
It's
put.
is very difficult, and
yeah.
I think folks who are dealing with that are dealing with a lot of things, and I think that preying on the weak society, jumping on top of the weak of our society, and that's really maybe a bad way to describe that. I don't know. I may offend somebody. I don't really care, frankly, at this point. But let's realize the situation. It's a complicated deal. Leah Thomas is obviously going through some complicated things, and now has been put front and center. And maybe that's the point. Maybe it's an attention thing. Some people just love attention. It doesn't matter what kind it is.
Yep.
Usually that creates unhealthy behavior, though.
Well, this is something that I think our society has lost, is that I can both say, Leah, this is wrong, and Leah, I have compassion towards you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's how I feel
I can
about
have
it.
both.
Yeah.
I can have both.
I can have both.
And that's okay.
And balance is okay. When you try to distort things to make them work, it just doesn't work very well.
Well
Right?
put.
Yep. There is no balance between good and evil, however.
No.
No.
So we have to.
I
I
think we
won't.
need
I
to
won't
talk
give.
about something
I won't give
nice
way
now.
to Eastern
Yeah.
philosophy there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No. So that's good. Okay.
So, all
moving
right.
on.
So we talked about all kinds of terrible things. Let's talk about some fun things now. I don't know what.
You don't know what fun things there are?
I have no idea.
Let's play a little Johnny Cash. I'm the man in black right now.
I can do that. I can do that. It's on my phone. I guarantee you. It's probably in the top 10 playlist. But, that and
man.
I've been everywhere,
Yeah.
man. It's good stuff. But unfortunately, the only other thing that is coming to mind right now is the whole Hunter S. Thompson, slouching towards Bethlehem. That guy. No, Hunter Biden. Kind of same thing.
Who's Hunter Biden?
Hunter Biden is the acknowledged president's son, who
He's lived a wild and crazy life.
well, we know that now because I think it was September of 2020, the New York Post came into possession of a laptop that they had done forensic evidence on and concluded it was, in fact, his laptop. It contained all those salacious pictures that we've now almost all seen of him.
Taking advantage of people and himself.
And a cache
And
of
his
emails
position.
Yeah.
that indicated that he was getting equity and jobs and emails from companies in the Ukraine, China, and all that, and continually referencing, I'm going to hold some of this back for the big guy. And meaning, and then there's been other people that have come forward that are close to the situation, said, well, yeah, that was his dad, that was Joe, and he was the vice president, and so this is influence peddling. It's just highly illegal. And when that came out in 2020 before the election, there was mass suppression of it. None of the mainstream news would cover it.
It's easy to say. Well, it's New York Post. They're highly conservative.
Yeah.
They've planted this laptop and all that.
And Twitter suspended the New York Post account. It was highly suppressed over all this stuff. And we now have evidence. It's been confirmed. It was all true. That just came out this week. That it's an authentic laptop. Hunter Biden, and under his criminal investigations, has admitted that that was.
So is he going to have any criminal charges put upon him?
I doubt it. Daddy can
Do we
just
not
pardon
hold
him.
these people accountable for their actions?
Not anymore. I mean, it's just blatant. I mean, they'll lie to your face, and you know they're lying. They know they're lying. They know you know they're lying, and nobody cares.
That's a good subject. I mean, at my grandparents' 66th wedding anniversary last week, and my grandparents and I don't agree politically. We had a conversation about the media, and it was a very good chat. I mean, it's not like we were arguing with each other. We were just talking, and it was like, I don't trust the media. And it's not that I don't trust some of the media. I don't really trust any of the media at this point. And that really stemmed from a local news story that I saw a year or so ago, that the reporter was talking about something specific to Rogersville. And I was like, that's not really true. Or not that it's not intended to be a lie, but it's one person's comments about a subject.
It was an editorial rather than reporting.
She was reporting on the event, but I knew that there were a lot of facts that weren't in there, leading it to be very misleading. And I'm like, And that was probably just, I don't want to call it lazy reporting, but I think it's the only reporting they do right now, which is they go and they talk to somebody and then they put that on the news.
Well, if it's not a controversy, it's not newsworthy. It tends to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't remember this specific story you're talking. I mean, I know we talked about it.
Well, it was a very boring story about like something being built. I mean, it really was not an interesting story at all, but I knew that there was facts that were not being said in it. So I was like, well, crap. At that point, I kind of stopped watching all news. Now I'll read articles and I stay informed. But I clicked on an article yesterday that it was a Zuckerberg article about, he said the title led you to believe that it was maintaining relationships and growing relationships is more important than money, basically.
Well, that's true.
It's like a Zuckerberg.
That's a great headline.
Yeah. So,
but that's what it's all about these days is the headline.
Yeah. So I go to the headline and I'm reading it, and by the end of the article, what it did is it shifted the fact that Zuckerberg left like the one Trump supporter on his group within his group of advisors in place, and that one Trump supporter was the one that was responsible for Facebook censoring or not censoring. They blamed him for something.
Yeah, it's kind of like when they had Hasselback on The View, like your token conservative.
Your token, yes, yeah. And I was like, okay, it happened to me again.
Beth wants to talk about false flag operations in the media, which is, I think there's some truth to that too.
Mm-hmm. Like I think that's, and I think a lot of people think that's true.
Whenever there's a big, interesting news cycle, start looking the other direction to see what's going on that you're not seeing, because it's the news cycle's full, and to some of that's probably extremely nefarious. Some of that is probably just a little advantageous. It's like we're going to wait until there's a big news cycle to do something just so it doesn't get as much press.
Well,
which is still just as kind of bad.
Yeah, and I thought about that with what you were talking about with the Biden laptop. Right now there's too much to talk about with gas prices, inflation, and Ukraine war and all this. So it can get buried because when everybody's feeling the squeeze of their pocketbooks, they really don't care what Hunter did. Just
except
make
it's
my
related.
dollar go a little
well,
bit.
I think
related.
I think they take the opinion. Well, it's one of those wealthy people that gets to do whatever they want.
I mean, if you're sitting on the board of a Ukraine energy company, which he was, then why does your dad shut down U.S. oil energy production?
Interesting.
might be connected.
Could it be?
No, that's too simple.
Biden?
But yeah, I mean, the conversation I have with my
Isn't that
grandparents
special?
is,
You
I'm
went
like,
there? Yeah,
Isn't that
you went
special?
there. Yeah.
I believe people of their generation, and they're mid-upper 80s, I believe they believe the news.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But I posted that on Facebook, and the comments were very interesting because people of all different ages basically said, I don't believe the news.
Well,
It is shifting, but you're right.
Yeah.
The older generation, for a longer time, held on to the belief that the news is trustworthy.
I had a,
because they grew up with it.
Hearing is accurate and has been fact-checked.
I had a conversation on social media with a retired former judge who's obviously significantly older than I am, even though I'm old.
Wow, how old is this guy?
Well, he's probably in his 70s. But he had posted something that I thought was fairly conservative, and I had made some comment on it that I thought was sort of along lines of what his post was. And we got into a very long conversation because we ended up disagreeing because he's like, where are you getting your news from? He's like, I get mine from NBC and CBS. I'm like, well, that's your problem. That's where you're getting your news. And it's just that he's an older generation. And so he doesn't see some of the things that I see when I look at more. And I'll look at the Daily Beast, which is just a dumpster fire. But it's and I'll read the Huffington Post, which
I
is
do love that term.
Yeah, and I mean it's just as bad, Yeah. And so I actually have an app on my phone. It's called Ground News, and it will report things and say this is not being reported by the left. Or you're conservative, so here's your blind spot report. Here's all the stories.
That's interesting.
Here's all the stories that you may not be seeing because you typically listen to conservative news channels. It shows you all those articles. So I check that. I see that because I want to get everybody's perspective.
If you're not doing that, I'm concerned for you. I go to Real Clear Politics,
Sure.
and it's cool because you'll have an article
Which
here,
the liberals
and
will tell you is a conservative news
they
outlet.
will, but to be
them it
fair,
is.
Yeah, I guess so. But you'll see conflicting headlines,
Sure.
one right on top of another, and
Yep.
you're just like, okay, that one's from the left, this one's from the right, and I like to read both.
I do too.
Well, and I think at the core of all of this, you have to read both and pull your conclusion from it because I feel like both are manipulated, and you can't listen to one side and get a full scope of what's going on.
Right.
But I do know here, in the advice I always give to people, listen to the people you know and the people you trust and the people that are right in front of you and what's going on around you, and use that to determine what you should do and what's true.
Right here on K-ROG.
We may or may not know what we're talking about.
Yeah. But, Emma's got some good news for us. She is on the National Mall for Ag Day 2022 in Washington, D.C. So,
Dun, dun.
yeah.
That's
You
my
go,
excited
Emma.
noise.
Good stuff.
Emma, you're awesome. She's up there.
Good job. So Vicky's
Kicking some
chiming in. Got a list of both sides. I don't.
You do.
I think we missed a typo there. That's okay.
You do. I mean, I think you have to be aware. And here's the other thing I said to them, too. This isn't new in other countries, guys. The media
No, it's
has
the way they've always done
controlled
it.
the rhetoric in other countries for years. And so I think, for a chunk of time, because things were just as inaccurate, let's say in like the 20s and 30s, right? There were big, especially the Industrial Revolution, changed media, and then unions came about and all that stuff. And it was probably just as distorted then as it is now.
Well, you hear stories of people in the Ukraine trying to tell their parents or their cousins or whatever in Russia, no, this is really bad. And they don't believe it because everything that's being put out in Russia is, it's just a military exercise. They're just protecting the Ukraine and whatever. And they're like, nope, Mom, look. My apartment building is
on fire.
blown up right now.
It's
like,
gone.
seriously.
It's gone.
And they're having a hard time believing it. And you think, how does that happen with technology today?
How would you trust someone else other than your person?
But if
you know what I mean?
you've ever traveled to another country and then you go to Google, you'll find out that the search that you enter there will come back with very different results than when you search here in the United States.
Well, I've spent significant amount of time in China. If you count 6 weeks, it's a significant amount of time. But
do they allow Google?
No.
Yeah, I was going to say,
No.
what is the search engine over there?
I've heard the name. I can't think of it.
Yeah, I can't either. But you get their news,
Right.
And you get their internet, right. And you can run a VPN and get out and get to the real world. But they actively combat that,
Right.
But what it's the kind of the on like Twitter and stuff, they call it like a shadow ban. You're not really banned, but they just change their algorithm to where your stuff doesn't show up to other people as often. But you wonder exactly what you guys are talking about. You do those searches and you get the results that Google wants you to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And whether or not that's a fair representation of what's really out there or not is different. I tend to use DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo, you'll get very different results.
You will get very different results if you use DuckDuckGo. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but I tend to think it's good.
Well, it's an interesting study, if nothing else. I want to encourage everybody to just play around with it and find out how different companies are forming your opinions.
Yeah, they really are.
Oh, and they 100% are. I mean, it's just like, when you think about a Hershey bar, you have 42 ads for Hershey bars. You know what I mean?
Just for thinking about it.
Just for thinking about it.
I was just sitting here thinking, I can't think of the last time I thought about a Hershey bar.
No, they're frankly not very good.
With all the good chocolate out there. But I see
it was the first thing that popped in my head.
Yeah.
I have not, but dang it, I'm going to have Hershey bar ads
Yeah,
all over my phone.
And so is everybody that watched our show today.
That's right.
Today's
show brought to you by Hershey.
Not brought to you by Hershey.
The first thing I do when I get a new Apple product is delete the news app from Apple because I can't stand the feed. It is just so biased.
I can't stand.
Oh, sorry, my first ad, soccer.com.
Yeah, well, that makes sense too.
I can't stand both sides of it. It just drives me absolutely bananas. I just can't stand it. I'm like, I don't know. It's too much. It's too much. People are getting too much information, too much skewed information. And
my next ad's Meaningful Beauty. Cindy Crawford, go-to skincare. This is incriminating. I'm putting this down.
It's you and a phone.
Well, and those soccer shoes were purple.
They were.
Ballard,
purple and pink.
Are you pulling a Leah Thomas? Do we need to know something?
No, I am coaching the women's soccer game
my
today at Fairgrove. I'm not playing as a woman.
Oh. Well, and I mean,
Fairgrove tonight. Hope you're there.
My ads tend to be for cooking and other stuff.
My ads do not have me figured out at all.
I like to give Facebook a run for their money.
Who
is this guy?
Very confused.
He's breaking the algorithm.
Very confused about Lauren. They do not understand.
Hunting, skincare, sports, opera.
I bet you're really good.
He needs a therapist for sure.
Yeah. They start sending all the mental health ads.
Yeah, a lot of ads.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh,
that's what that's
it's
for.
It's making sense now, isn't it? It's all coming together.
And we're not making fun of mental health.
Not.
We just
want
to
a big problem
right now.
But yeah.
No, we're not.
Obviously not.
Just making fun of this
and
guy.
As I would say, as opinionated as the three of us are, we're all very compassionate people, I think.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty compassionate people. I don't think you'll see us treating anybody badly, right?
Try not to.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Vicky's are all garden related.
Vicky, Larry Martin Community Garden, Larry Martin Memorial Community Garden.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, did you see the bridge that they built?
I know.
Over the
I'm excited. I want to go over there and check it out.
Yeah.
Vicky, I need to get a tour from you.
Yeah, I need to go. It's been a while since I've been over there.
Just shut yours down, Lauren.
I'm still unrestricted. It was supposed to be 30 days, and it's been 30 days.
Yep.
So I'm just saying, I'm
maybe
still
you
in
got
jail.
an extra sentence for bad behavior.
Do you think Biden would
2 life terms?
What's that called when he dismisses your case or whatever? Pardon? You think
Pardon.
Biden would pardon me?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not.
He'd be like, huh?
I've seen the waffle. You ain't get nothing from me.
It's true.
Kamala told me about the waffle. He doesn't talk like that at all.
He doesn't. Never mind. Sorry.
If you take enough clip of him, he might say waffle one of these days.
Waffle. Ice cream.
This is.
I want to laugh and cry at the same time.
This is probably a ridiculous thing to say, but I'm starting
Speaking
to
of compassion, I prayed for Joe Biden last week. I just want.
I do that too.
That's good.
I think it's almost inevitable that Donald Trump's going to get elected in 2024. I think he's going to be the Republican nominee, and I think that the overwhelming, I think everybody that votes against people they don't like instead of people that stand for what they believe is going to be so offended by what's happened the past 2 years and 4 that he's going to win, and we're going to get another Trump presidency.
Okay,
I think it's almost inevitable.
Okay, I'm going to say this.
So I'll just go on the record so I can look back at this when it happens and go, see, I'm like Ann
Okay,
Coulter.
Waffle's about to get a lot of hate mail. All
Okay.
right? 'Cause
Jeez.
I understand the Trump love.
C. Ballard at KROGTV.com.
Yes, that is most definitely my email address.
It's not. That's why I gave it.
It's posted all over. They can find it if they want it. I have a strong opinion on this. We are seeing in the last 2 elections what happens when we elect somebody based on who we don't want.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, I don't mind saying this on air. I voted against Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Not for Donald
me
Trump.
too. Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I was pleasantly surprised.
That's fair, and that's fine. And me too in many ways.
Mm-hmm. Not all of them.
Exactly. And so I hope that we talk about that pendulum swinging too far. I hope as a nation we can get back to electing someone we want.
That's a really good
Not
way
to
put it.
vote for somebody we don't want. I tell church planters, I do a lot of coaching for new startups, and so one of the things I tell them is do not start the church that is the antithesis of the one you just left. Right? You're not trying to create the fix for the one that was not good. If you do that, I can tell you how this story ends. It will not go well for you. And I think we're seeing that in the last 2 election cycles. And so I know there's a strong case to be made, and especially with people in this area, for Trump, over Biden. But is it time to move on? Is it time to
Well,
find...
it probably is. And the reason is I think the reason we have this problem is because when your team gets the ball, for example, you run as hard and fast as you can towards one extreme or the other. And so that's what we're seeing right now is the Democrats and the liberals have the ball, and they're running really hard left.
And the midterm elections are about to balance that.
Yank them back.
Yep.
And the best thing we could do when we get the ball is to be reasonable.
Yes.
I appreciate that. And I'll tell you, and again, I don't mind saying this on air, I don't call myself a Republican, but I am a conservative. Yep. I'm not happy with the Republican Party.
No, I agree.
But
they're too liberal for me.
Well, yeah, for sure. And obnoxious in many ways. Yep. But the pendulum cannot keep swinging back and forth.
No, it's exhausting.
We are on the crazy train.
Well, it does until it gets off its rocker and the whole thing collapses. That's
where it's headed.
I really don't want to collapse.
Yeah.
For
sure. I think there's a lot of people out there and they're taking kind of this self-centered view of it. I'm ready for the collapse if it happens.
That would be Ronald Reagan, Sharon. Ronald Reagan. And I was not old enough to vote, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can count on that one. So, and I do agree, and I understand the sentiment that you're making there.
I would like to see us move into a calmer time. I have 2 small children who have to deal with this dumpster fire. Mm-hmm. And it and the internet and technology has sped up the cycles of chaos to where they're closer together, right?
Yep.
You cannot exist in chaos for an extended period of time. And I think we're seeing that currently.
I've been doing it for 45 years. I don't know.
Here's the thing that I think.
I'm doing pretty good.
I'm doing all right.
I think it all circles back to the media, because I think when you get a conservative majority in government, I think they tend to act very reasonable. You don't see them doing things like we're going to now make gay marriage illegal. They don't try to roll the ball back on any of those things except abortion, and we have to because that's murder. And I get that, but you don't see people like, if you elect Trump and conservatives, they're going to ban gay marriage and all this stuff. They didn't do that. They didn't even try to do those things.
No, they didn't do that.
But the media wants you to believe that. And so even though the conservatives aren't running as hard as their direction as the liberals do when they take over. The media tries to make it look that way.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And
because
they're on
media
one.
is a huge problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Problem.
Is Trump a little insane? Yeah, but not nearly as insane as the left-wing media wants to make him out to be.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think that
He's pretty insane, though.
Yeah.
I really, and you guys know me, I am not afraid of conflict. I am not afraid to stand in the ring and take punches until I got to throw an uppercut. But geez Louise, we need some calm.
Yeah.
We need things to calm down and reset a little bit. It is way too out of control. And we need politicians and media to get on board with that.
I think we're a little ways off from it.
There's no money.
I think we are too.
There's no money in calm.
I think we're totally screwed, but I can have hope.
I didn't mean to take that away from you.
Just stay on the farm.
Well, speaking of the farm, what's going on in Rogersville? Can we bring it down a bit? And,
We want to know. We want to know what's going on in Rogersville.
Let's see what's going on.
Well,
in Rogersville.
Recent news: the second attempt to have the property rezoned to put the Copart yard in Rogersville was denied.
Yeah.
Good.
Overwhelmingly.
I think the board just listened to the input. Actually, I think the
government
board
worked
read
the way that it
I think
should.
the board read the
Listen.
code.
Yeah, it did.
the
Well,
code
you
was
showed
pretty
me the
clear.
code. Yeah,
Yeah,
and once I read the code, I'm like, this can go nowhere.
And a lot of people think the board is supposed to follow the code, right? And when it references how the board should treat or react to something. And so this was a pretty clear deal where there was 5 conditions that had to be met.
I don't
for
think
a
it met any of
conditional
them,
use
maybe
permit.
one.
And if anybody who didn't have, a vested interest in that particular property read those conditions, I think they'd see how they couldn't meet those. And because I believe the way that it was interpreted is like, if you meet these conditions, you get it. It's not we would like to give it to you, so here it is. It's if you meet these conditions, the board shall provide you the conditional use
they
permit.
can't even turn you down.
And this stuff happens with like building permits, and I mean this is something that's not uncommon. This has just happened to be a really big affect a lot of people deal. So more people found out about it. But yeah, so that they did exactly what they were supposed to do, which is they followed the rules put forth in them and listened to public opinion too. And I think it took that into consideration on how it didn't meet those conditions.
Well, here's your free legal tip for the day.
Ooh, I like
There's 2 really important words anytime you're reading statutes or rules. The 2 words are shall and may. And anytime you read a rule, particularly something like that, you will find the word may or shall. And
It's 2 very different words. Huh?
2 very different words,
Yes.
and they mean very different things. And so, like in this instance, it says if you meet these 5 criteria, the board shall issue you a conditional permit. They don't have any choice. Now, they are the arbiters of fact as to whether or not you meet those criteria. But that then is an appealable decision. But you have to prove that you meet those conditions to those folks because they're on the board. But it said may, it could come in and say, if you meet all these criteria, then the board may grant you, but isn't required to. So those are very different things. And sometimes people get into the weeds on this and don't realize where there's discretion and where there's not discretion. And that applies to judges too. When I'm serving in that role, sometimes I have a may and sometimes I have a shall.
So what you've shared here is really giving me hope, because if we can get people to understand the importance of local government.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, honestly, we don't need Washington telling Missouri what to do, and we don't need Missouri telling, Greene and Webster County what to do.
Correct.
Rogersville, so, I mean, does Rogersville need to examine the codes and, have an eye on the future and think through growth and all that? Absolutely. But that needs to be dictated here, not on the level of Washington.
If you want to know what's going on,
show up.
Show up
and vote next month.
Go to council.
Right?
Yeah, there's an election on April 5th in Rogersville, and Sturtz is doing candidate interviews. He did.
Good job.
There's only one contested race, and just so you guys know too,
you mean Board of Aldermen, or are you talking about, because there's school board too?
Yeah, that's true. There's only one contested race for Board of Aldermen, and then in the school board they vote for 2, and I think there 3 or I think there's 3 people running.
Yeah.
So in the Board of Aldermen race, there's a 1-year position for Ward 1, which I can kind of explain where that is. It's basically, Leabrook, Logan Estates, Main Street, east, north of 60. That kind of gives you an idea. So like on Barnard or Hannah, those streets back in there. And, good kudos to Sturts for doing those interviews because it's not fun to be involved in local politics because guess what? You got to see the person that you interviewed or that, your neighbors know these people. I mean, so it's really a very personal way to be involved in politics. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. So kudos to Sturts for stepping up and doing the interviews. We appreciate that very much. And he interviewed Victor. And Victor's interview was very interesting last week. There was a little bit of technical difficulties, but I learned some stuff about him, and it was very interesting. And I mean, talk about relative to current events in the world with what's going on in the Ukraine. It was very interesting. Yeah. And he's going to interview, let's see, what day is today? I think he's going to interview Corey this week. He posted it. And then the uncontested Jeff Lee and Janie Pyle, who are just going to take the positions, I think they're going to do interviews after Corey's interview. So, I mean, it's...
And then Jack Cole is running for mayor.
Yes. Yep. So, it's...
Is he running unopposed?
He's running unopposed, for mayor.
And then the school board candidates are... I'm not going to name them all because I can't name them all. I know two. I don't want to miss one, so I'm not going to name them. But they've been out putting up signs, and they've got Facebook pages. And the PTA town hall meeting is Wednesday night, which we'll broadcast that live on the PTA page.
So school board candidates will be there, and then talking about the no tax increase
bond. And I'm going to tell you right now, as a member of the LR 2022 bond committee, I want you to vote yes on that.
Oh, I'm telling you, hey, me too. I'll jump on that. Got to hear Dr. Randall's his spiel on that, and did a great job presenting all the ways that it will benefit our schools, especially as we're growing.
And we are growing.
We desperately need these improvements and for our kids. I mean, this is a no-brainer. I know people get real particular about tax or no tax, but just go read up on it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Or Dr. Randall's will be in studio with me on Monday at 7:30.
There you go.
And we'll be doing a live show with him about the bond issue.
Yeah, so you get information there. Or
and you can ask questions. If you tune in Monday at 7:30 and you have a question, you can ask the question live on the show.
Yep. You can watch the PTA town hall meeting live, and you'll get to talk to those candidates. Those candidates seem to be very out there.
Yep.
And so send them a message.
Out there is unavailable.
Like,
they're not like out there.
They're not like aliens, but no, they're available.
And by aliens, did you mean left-wing extremists?
Yes, I did.
Out there.
Hats.
Or right-wing
Thanks
extremists.
for watching today, folks. We do need to shut it down.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah, gotta go.
Hey, we'll be back next week with more on the waffle and what's going on in Rogersville. Thanks for watching.